TitleMatchNetwork.com.
To another edition of the RF Video Shoot Interview Series. Today we're joined by two huge superstars in the sport of professional wrestling. You guys pretty much changed the business big time. And my very first question, I don't know who wants to go first, but what do you guys remember about meeting each other back in the day for the very first time?
Oh, God. The story of it in your old caddy?
I think you got it. Go ahead, you tell it. We met, what was the first time we met?
I remember the first pay-per-view. When
That was
Oz
Don-
debuted.
that was
Diamond Stud's first pay-per-view.
Yeah, that was St. Pete.
And I was, envious because you were getting such a major shove WCW style.
I had Sweet Valley with it.
Did you ever see the Oz character?
Yeah, totally.
Who was Janie was Dorothy, Sullivan was dragging some monkey off the side of the platform.
Yeah. But that was the first time we met, and then the next set of TVs, he was at the dungeon, or I forget what it was called, but it was like a Ramada
In Atlanta.
I think we were going to Macon, and I said, I got to drive right by there and pick you up. He goes, what are you driving? I said, I got a Cadillac. He said, all right, there's been enough room. So we got in the car. And
Jay and Ruff, we're both muscleheads too, so we know we're going to train and eat,
yeah. So on the way back, I think we stopped and got some beers.
No.
Yeah.
Must have been your idea.
Yeah, it was. I think it was your first beer, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, not my last.
And so we're sitting there, and these old school cars. We had to mess with the radio.
Of course, now, Kev, what year caddy was it?
This was 86.
But you got to remember now, Kev's 6'11" and 3/4 in his socks.
Right.
So even in a caddy, his knees are like way up, even with the seat jack back. So I just want to throw that in.
Yeah. So we actually just switched play, but he messes with the radio and then goes like this across my leg. And I'm like, oh man, that's probably nothing. Just because, like I said, two big guys in front of the car, there wasn't a whole lot of room. Messed with the radio again, reaches across, and I'm thinking,
And it's middle of summer, it's hot. Right. Shorts on.
I'm thinking, oh man.
What was it, the 3 times?
Yeah.
Just blatant, and just on his leg or just down his leg. And this is a big fucker. I don't know. This is a big man. I don't know him. And I'm thinking, ooh, either this is going to be funny and we're going to be buddies, or I'm going to get beat up.
Right.
And he just was staring straight ahead. And I go, fag? You're not going to do anything? Oh.
Man, I said, I was getting ready to have to. I was thinking, man, I don't want to pull this car over.
I just started to like this.
Yeah, as I said, just started to like this guy. Now I figure we're going to be dating. So
That's fun. I guess how quickly did you guys become friends? Right off the bat?
yeah, because he's a prick and I'm a prick, so just like it was,
Yeah. Low paid pricks.
yeah, we were, but at the
But
same
we were
time,
making all the towns.
yeah, but we weren't afraid to just watch people's matches and just brutalize them.
Yeah, we always did monitor and curtain time, even as young boys.
Yeah.
I guess, go ahead.
But then, it was a situation where Scott, they weren't doing anything with Scott, and he went to New York and got over huge. You're welcome. And so it was like, one of our guys made it, because back then there was center stage, there was the star locker room, and there was the underneath guys. We used to say the guys making $3,000 and less a week.
That was my next question, actually. How frustrated were you guys when you were in ECW early on? I guess.
WCW.
Yeah, WCW, not getting a push and all that.
I was green. I mean, I knew I needed to get in the ring, but Scott could work. I mean, Scott was, he could have got over. It wasn't, he had heat with Magnum back in the day.
I did.
He had heat with Magnums, and Magnum was in the office.
Yeah. I tried to, even though I felt I wasn't being paid, like I was working with guys who made 2-3 times as much as me.
Right.
And kind of telling it, like leading the match, to a degree, as much as I knew at that point. But I tried to take the attitude of, at that point, it's still the most money I'd ever made. And so I said, the fans don't know what I'm making. So I'm going to go out there and act like I'm a big deal. I'm going to try to get over. And because WCW doesn't really, the only way they knew how to hold you down was just not put you on TV.
Right.
Because they weren't slick enough like Vince's TV. If you do something and you're not supposed to be up here and you do something that puts you up there, you know, they know how to hold you down. WCW didn't really know.
No.
But
So he bailed, Scott bailed, and then shortly after that, I bailed, and we both were up in New York together. And then when I got up there, I think the first road trip, me, you, and Sean started traveling together.
yeah, you came in as Sean's bodyguard.
Yeah, and I had known Scott, and Scott and Sean had already like built an alliance.
Yeah, we had all the heat up there.
I'm going to definitely.
Obnoxiously happy.
I'm definitely going to talk about that coming up. I guess, can you guys talk about the pressures of being a top guy in the business?
I mean, it's like anything else when you're on the top. I mean, you're a target for everybody that's below you. You know, it's when you're on your way up, everybody loves you, including the fans. You know, like he should be getting a bigger push, but as soon as you make it to the top, then it's like all of a sudden, you know, the smarts don't like you anymore because they know you're top. You know, it's like, well, we hate all top guys, so we're gonna hate him. And I don't know, it just
I try to look at it like, it was a dream come true for me because I'd always been labeled, you know, it was Downs' idea to give me the black hair and the stubble and the whole gimmick. You know, he changed my look for me. And because I'd been around about 5 years and I thought, God, I'm pretty big and I can work a little bit and I can interview a little bit. But I had that label like something's missing. He doesn't have it. He doesn't, you know. So for me to, I remember when I called Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and said, if I'm destined to be a job guy in wrestling, I would rather do it in New York.
Right.
Because Barry Horowitz has baseball cards. Vince points his camera at everybody, and it's like you get your swings at the bat. You know, your swings. You know, maybe you strike out, maybe you hit a single, maybe you hit it out of the park. But at least you get a chance. At WCW, like Kevin and I talked about before, your position is determined before you ever have a match because your contract is signed before you perform. So if you make $750 grand a year and I make $75 grand a year, I'm never going to beat you. Even if I get a better crowd response or something like that. That's when the people who are making decisions are making them based on that. So
right.
Yeah, it's almost like a hierarchy. You know,
but to the question about pressure being on top, we were so the way I think we all benefited from the way Vince ran his company at that time. It was kind of a Shark Tank environment. It was real competitive, and everybody wanted to be on top, and everybody watched all the matches. And you know, up there, you're only as good as your last performance.
Right.
So, and when you came back from the ring, if they had agents who, you know, when one agent was in charge of box office, one agent was watching the matches, and he was watching them. And when you came back, if it wasn't up to your standards or their standards, they would say something to you.
Right.
You know, what are you sick? You know, what's the matter? You don't feel good? You know, taking a night off? When we got to WCW,
damn right.
when we got to WCW, we came back from the ring the first couple of times and looking at each other going, oh, we almost had him. Oh,
man.
Oh.
Then we'd look around and be like, oh, they don't even care.
We come back, they go, great, hey, you're great, guys, great. And we're going, oh my God.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, like, no, it wasn't great. Like, it could have been.
I remember a couple times we went, wow, we almost had him, Kev. We almost had him.
I remember that one time we were there and they fucked their music up in Tupelo. And the agent that was on there that night said, fine, guys. I said, I'm not going out without our music. I said, I'm not going to go out. And they were like looking at me like I was a prima donna.
Free bird stuff.
Yeah, I said, I'm not going to go out. I said, it's part of, this is an act. I said, the first part of that's the intro. I said, I'm not going out. And the guy looked at me and said, well, it's just fucking Tupelo. I said,
you know what guy that was?
What was that?
Guy paints his face. I gave him that scary man gimmick.
Oh,
just Tupelo. Remember that? I said,
I said, but just fucking Tupelo. And obviously, we don't need to be here. You know, if it's just a town that doesn't matter, then why are we on the road? Because I can be home. And then, that became like our battle cry. You know, after that, it was just like, if it don't matter, tell us because we need to know ahead of time it doesn't matter. And we stuck it up their ass every chance we got there.
Oh no.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, this place sucks. Oh my God.
I guess, Kevin, you got up to New York and Scott was already there. Did you guys start traveling together right off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, the first road trip, and that was back when you still had a, kayfabe, brother. So,
So of course I'm riding with my opponent.
right, we're riding in the car. The three of us are in the car together. It's me, Scott, and Sean.
So we pull into some of the arenas. We all put towels over our head. And
Yeah, all three of us, not just one guy. All three of us would put towels.
That's great.
What I thought was funny about our angle, like with Sean, and even then when you and I wrestled against each other, it wasn't a hatred thing. That's what I never understood about WCW when they got there. It was like, I'm gonna. One time Sting did an interview and said, "You're a dead man to me." And I went there and said, "Man, what am I going to tell my son if he watches the show? Sting wants to kill his dad. Like, you're not going to win. You're not going to kill me. It's about winning and losing." When we got there, the biggest angle they had was Flair was with Miss Elizabeth spending Macho's alimony.
Right.
I went to Bischoff and said, "We're doing a divorce angle? How negative can we be? What about winning and losing? Doesn't the belt mean anything?" Like,
That's what you're supposed to do, Bob.
I thought it used to be.
Speaking about Flair, Scott, on the interview that we did with you last month, you called out Ric Flair on the last interview and pretty much said he was untrustworthy for taking the WCW title with him to WWE. Do you feel the same way, Kev, as Scott kind of feels?
I think that's bad business. I don't know. Anytime I've ever left an organization or anything, I've always, when I told Vince I was leaving to go to WCW, I said I'd do some favors on the way out because those were my friends that I was leaving the locker room. And he said, "I want you to put over Shawn. I want you to put over Undertaker." He said, "I want you to put over Warrior." Warrior just came in. I said, "No, man, I ain't putting him over because he hadn't been in the trenches with us." But the other two guys, I said, "I'll put him over dead in the middle with the finish. I don't have a problem with that." And I did. So I've never had a problem doing that. But, I don't know what Rick's situation was. Did it mean more?
It was a little bit different, Kev. It was before you got there, and I was with Heenan. It was a good spot for me. I was with Heenan, Perfect, and Flair. And I was gonna screw Mach, and he was gonna drop the strap to Flair. And I had some heat with Flair from WCW when he was burying me on TV when he was a booker.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there, we're in a little meeting with Vince, and he's running by what's going to happen. He goes, "Anybody have any questions?" I was about to go, "Yeah, you sure you want to give this guy your belt? Because he came to your company with the other company's belt."
Right.
I was going to say it because I didn't like Flair, and he's not my boss anymore, and I'm a prick.
No!
Well, rumor has it. So Kurt gave me the office, like, just tap me on the foot, like, "Don't say it, don't say it." So I let it go.
Yeah. Do you guys think it's time for Flair to step aside because he's still on TV and stuff? Or
I think he still gets a good reaction. If you look at the talent that they have, I mean, it was years ago, but I remember being in Philly one time and looking around the locker room going, "God, like, I think the card was messed up, so they were making substitutions." I was looking around going, "God, who can I work with?" Looking around the locker room going, "Wow, that's Ric Flair." Say what you want about him. Oh, he's past his prime. Oh, he doesn't look good, whatever. He's still Ric Flair.
Yeah, I still think he's one of the top 4 or 5 guys.
I insisted on taking the figure 4 right in the middle.
You actually just talked a little bit about Warrior. What do you guys remember about when he came back to WCW to work? What was he like?
I always got along with him. Personally, as a person, he's different, man. He's a different cat. But I don't think he has any malice in him. He's not a vicious guy or anything. But he's different. He's just a real.
I found him to be a little eccentric.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the thing that just kind of works for him.
Go ahead.
I admired the fact that, rumor has it, and I think the rumors are true, that he got his money.
Yeah, he held on.
So a lot of people say, well, he's not a good worker. I know one thing, when he went down the aisle, the fans cheered. And you can't learn that. You can't be taught that. They either like you or they don't. They liked him. He was real limited in what he did, but just book him with the right person.
He knew his limitations.
Yeah, he got paid. I like that because you need guys who demand money.
Right.
Some guys, this guy we know from Canada had the strap, and he was happy making $400,000 a year. It's like, just if you could win every night. It's like, no, brother. You have to raise that. You got to go in there and complain. You're the man. It's business.
Speaking of Brett, do you think that Vince?
Hey.
Do you guys feel that Vince was responsible for a lot of the heat between Shawn and Brett?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, it's just good for business. They always stir the shit any chance they get. It just makes for better television. Two guys, especially back then when the show now is so heavily scripted. I mean, there's nothing organic that happens on the show anymore. But back then, I mean, you know, guys shot on interviews, and you know, it was. I don't know, man. Two pricks.
Yeah, well, see, when they went live, that was the whole new thing. All this TV was all 50 matches in one day.
Yeah, it was all canned, and you know, you did your interviews in the back. I mean, everything was, you
did 10, 15 in a row. Do it over. Okay, now Albany.
market specifics. So it was a different business. Once it became live, then all of a sudden, you know, Scott and I always had the, you know, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. So we just did it and come back and go, sorry.
Plus, what happened was when they went live, in my opinion, then the guys who were really over were over, and the guys who weren't so over weren't so over. Because if you watch SmackDown, you can see that it's post-produced. You can hear loud crowd reactions, but when you look at the audience, they're not reacting.
Right.
You know, then when they have people who come out who are over, then they take they pan the audience and show it. Like on Raw, when it's live, you're going to hear the crowd reaction. Like when Triple H comes out, they always pan the audience because he's over like Rover. You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that always kind of dictates who's on that roster. You know, you can't have a guy that's not over and be on that Raw roster. It just doesn't really work. So, and that's always going to be their flagship show, because it's the live show.
Did either of you guys ever pull any ribs on each other during matches? When you guys are either working each other?
Happened to work with me was a rib.
I was watching. You know, I started working in Puerto Rico a few months ago, so I said, man. And I went down there, and God, I hadn't worked so long. I was nervous. I couldn't believe it. I was freaked out and nervous. And oh my God. I had to go home and watch tapes and go, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. And I watched the last match I had with Sean. That time we went almost the whole hour after Vince's trial.
That was the one in that little building in Ohio.
Stupidville.
Yeah, something like that. It was a small little.
When I took Kid to the hospital, we met you guys in that restaurant, you, Vince, and Pat, and Sean.
Drank some scotch. I do remember that.
But we met at a diner later.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Vince went, kid, take the neck brace off, the trial's over. But, what are we talking about?
You watched that match?
Oh, I watched that match, and I know now that my run is over with Sean, and now I'm going to wrestle Kev, and Sean's going to be on the outside. But, you know, me and Sean had worked together almost 2 years, a little more. We had A match, B match, C match, it's like dancing.
Right.
And Sean's real stiff, and so am I. But getting stiffed by a guy who's 6'4" and getting stiffed by a guy who's 7 foot 320 is different. And Kevin, you know, he was over strong, but he'd been used limited as a bodyguard and then slowly became a wrestler. We did this thing where you guys got to me after that match, and you dropped an elbow on me while I was on my stomach. You dropped an elbow on me, and you can't see my face, but you can see me look at Sean, and Sean is just going, ah.
That's great.
But you know, it all worked out. I mean, I think the rib it wasn't an intentional rib, but one time I got my boots resoled, and we used to start the match with I'd hit the ring because, you know, D's would screw Razor out of the belt. So I'd hit the ring, slide in, duck his clothes, and I'd turn around, start bang, bang, bang. And I had my boots resoled one time. And when, you know, resoled boots on a slick canvas.
It's that polyurethane.
Slid in, and now I have to punch up, too. Bam, just live round, bang, bang.
Every night. But you had those boots, though. It was like, we had like a 17-day run back then. It took like about 8 days I'd be pleased to go in the parking lot and walk with those boots. You're killing me.
Oh, and what about, where were we? Montreal, New York, the time when we were doing spots. I said, try to pull me out.
Oh,
remember that?
Bro, I swear to God, it broke my neck.
And they were pulling you back, and I got scared when I saw that left hand come back.
Oh, yeah.
Stinger.
Oh, man. I was paralyzed. Nowadays, man, I'd been out for 6 months. I just kept working with that thing back then.
To each of you guys, what made your matches against Sean so good?
Sean.
I was anything. What's the variable that's the same in both matches? Sean?
Yeah.
Sean was great. Yeah,
Sean is great. He, the last time I talked to him, I said, quit working so hard. I said, why do you still take so many bumps? Because I'm a mark.
I just talked to him 5 minutes ago. I talked to him on the way here.
He's I don't know. I remember when I first got to work with Sean was after he'd come out of that rocker tag team thing, and in that era, the guys who were considered big were working strong for Vince, and he was a tag team guy. So they used to do spots with like Warlord or Barbarian, where one guy would drop kick, the other guy drop kick, and he wouldn't go down, and double drop kick, he'd go down. So I remember Sean talking to me, and I knew Sean from Kansas City and from Minneapolis, and he said, but at that time, Razor was getting kind of a big push, and Sean was as well. But Razor was getting pushed, and I remember he talked to me like, if he was being real political about it, like, if you want to sell, what can I do to get you in trouble? I said, punch me, bam, I'm in trouble. You don't have to hit me with the chair.
Especially, he throws a good punch. That's the whole thing. Somebody throws a good punch. It's so easy to sell it.
Right. Plus, I think if you just sell.
Well,
Kev's 7 foot, man. You
I
sold Rey Mysterio beats you.
But the thing is that, the thing with Sean, though, is, the first time I met him, I'd seen him on TV and really never talked to him or anything else. And the first time was in Albany, New York, was the first night I started, and I walked in the locker room. He's like a lot bigger than I thought he'd be. He's like 6'1.5". Then he turns around and goes, "Hey, I'm Sean." Voice doesn't come out of that body, does it? What? I'm Sean. All right, you're Sean.
Yeah, he's just a lot of guys. Sean had a real teeny bop fan base. Like when he would go to the ring, he got a real high pitch.
Right.
And then because he would go out every night before me, and I hear that I'm the sexy ball, and that meant like I'm in the back loosening up, time to go to work. Like his music was cueing me, time to go to work, and then go out. And there's my buddy in the ring and my other buddy on the outside.
You know why you're going to get over that, don't you?
Because I had cool music. Kev told me that when he first met me. Real serious. Man, you know why you're going to get over it?
They got a buzz on them.
You know why you're going to get over it? Oh, man, why? You got cool ring. Yeah, but Sean's deceivingly, he's a lot bigger than he looks on TV. And I think because he's so athletic, that people think, well, he's got to be a little teeny guy, He's not, and he's stiff, and his stuff looks good, and he lays it in.
And he shifts gears. Sean has a prick mode.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, he's mellow a little though.
I still think if you paint him in a corner, it's there. It's definitely there.
Yeah, I'd like to find out.
Huh. Do you guys have any good Kliq road stories? I know you told us about the diner when.
Talking about the
Lookers?
No, the one when everybody went to
Puget Park?
Pittsburgh? No, not that one. The one we walked in and
hips up.
And we walk in, but we're all just absolutely filled out of our minds. We look and there's like the cop convention. That was one when they give Sean the option to either go to jail, go to the hospital.
What town? Remember?
We left Indianapolis. We were going like.
Was that the Summit?
No, it was a different time. It was the one where it was like I sent Hunter out to get all the beer bottles. I think on the way to the thing was you were in pretty bad shape. You might not remember. You might.
I plead insanity. I'm crazy about that kind of stuff.
You might not remember.
I don't remember because it wasn't like it was one time thing. Well, that one night we got wasted. Yeah, one night.
How about the one when I don't know if I told the story. Remember the one when Kid got all messed up and it was like when Hunter first joined us, and Hunter, like everybody was smacking Kid to get, come on, Kid, get out of there. Hunter smacked me while went, hey,
man, whoa, you're a little bit new here. You slapped him.
You can't hit him.
Right. That was great to have him. Because before you got there, Sean always drove. I never drive unless I'm with Kid.
Right.
If it's me and Kid, then I have to drive. Because Kid's the only wheelman worse than me.
Right.
But then when Kev came, it's like, we'd be stumbling out of the bar. Well, you got to drive. Why? You're the biggest.
You got more body weight. So then I had to go to the 50 miles. I wouldn't get a buzz on the 50 miles outside the town. Everybody else would be just out of their minds. I'd just be driving. I'd see a sign, Dayton, 52 miles. I'm in.
The only time I got to ever drive with you was on the way to WrestleMania 18, crossing the border into Toronto.
We're crossing the border, and we've got I guess you would call them pills on us. And we're sitting there, we're
prescription
drugs. We're drinking wine. I'm drinking wine. He's not drinking wine.
I wasn't even drinking that.
No, you weren't drinking.
No, not until after.
And so as we're getting there, we realize, like, we're going to go over the border. We probably shouldn't have these.
Well, we chose to drive instead of fly.
Because we both had, like, they couldn't get us in because we've had a couple of arrests in our lives.
You know, I was young.
I was foolish gangster at heart. But, so it's just like, we didn't have a whole lot of bills with us. It was one of those deals like we kind of divvied them up and went like, instead of just being like,
well, we could throw them out the window.
Yeah, you can throw them out the window or you can throw them down your throat. We went, so we threw them down our throat and we get to the place and the guy tells us, pull over.
Do I look fucked up?
Yes. The guy wants to get WrestleMania tickets. And we're in like, this is like the border, you know, the Canadian border.
It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 in the morning. And Scott's got a halibut and he's like, it's like, he's trying to get it up on the counter and I'm like walking, like, you know, we're like, I look at Scott, the guy goes to the back row, Scott, look fucked up. He goes, dude, don't say anything. We got out, we went to Tim Hortons and ate donuts, and I think we just sat there for a while, didn't we? Drank coffee, just sat there. Like,
luckily, the dude was a fan. And I think, didn't the office set us up with stuff so that
we
in that event?
Yeah.
We had WrestleMania tickets, we had merchandise, we had everything.
We had everything to get that.
Because they weren't sure even with the legal documents they're going to let us in. We both had gun charges.
Which is always good. They like the gun charges.
What are your thoughts on how Lex Luger turned out today as compared to when you guys worked with him?
I haven't heard.
I know. I've seen him, and I know pretty. I mean, to me, it's just like kind of like, you know, I always equated to the fall of the Roman Empire. Like I would never have thought that Lex was always, you know, always really kept everything together. And it just goes to show you, man, that you know, you get caught up in an addiction. I mean, it doesn't matter how big and strong you are, how you know, educated or well-willed, successful. Addiction knows no boundaries. It can get anybody.
Each of you guys had different versions of how you made the deal to get back into WCW. Whoever wants to go first, can you guys explain again how that all went down since you guys are both together now?
The one as far as when we came in with Bischoff?
Yeah.
You started it.
Yeah, I had a couple meetings with Vince and asked for more money. And I thought I had some creative solutions because at that time it wasn't a public company, it was private. So it was the way I believe Vince viewed it was if he made more money, he made less. So I went to him and said, well, how about more merchandise? You know, could you move the decimal point over a little bit on the, you know, it would really help the Hall family, but the Mann family really missed it. You know? Oh, no, I give you the same that I give Diesel, Taker, and Sean. No, maybe in the future, but not now.
So how about Japan?
Yeah, exactly. I go to Japan. We have 10 weeks a year, go to Japan. Still want to work for you. Well, I'm not going to say no because I let back and I go, but as soon as I have you over there, I need you here. So no. So it's like, oh. And actually, Kid had been talking to Barry Bloom. And Vince when you were working for Vince, you're so busy making towns, you don't even think that anybody else has an interest in you.
Let alone that there's actually a world going on, you know, besides what you're doing.
I can remember one time driving to a town somewhere, and in the car, Sean, Kev, and I, basically the main event, semi-main, or whatever town we're going to, and we're driving all the way there going, and I'm thinking, God, what if we'll have time to eat?
Yeah.
And thinking, how ridiculous is that?
Like instead of being late to the building, we'll just pass on a meal and go to the main. We were so like what do they call it? Stockholm syndrome, right? When you're kidnapped and you fall in love with your captor. It was just like we were like, you know. I remember another time we were overseas and they were like, "Do you think they'll hold the plane?" When you were trying to get some McDonald's like in Frankfurt. Remember Mach? You guys went.
I went because I said they won't leave Mach. They won't leave Mach. I'm going with Mach.
But that was the same thing. It was just like.
But see, Mach didn't know. Mach didn't know they wouldn't leave.
No.
We had to coach him up because I think, I don't know, if I ran a company, maybe I would do it that way too. But the way I remember my first match in Madison Square Garden, I was wrestling at Mach, and I'm standing outside the curtain waiting to go out. They play my music, so I'm getting ready to go at the time that I always go out. Vince goes, wait, make him wait. So then I say, oh, cool. Wow, good idea. You know? So then, but then I start stretching because now he says, make him wait, and now I'm making him wait. Like, I'm stretching, he goes, okay, a little bit longer, pal. But he's, you know, he would pump you up kind of like, and I don't mean this negatively. I think it was the way he did business, and it worked for him and worked for all of us. It was like, man, they're all here to see you. You're a big effing star. Everybody here is here to see you. Go out there and tear the house down. So you go, yeah. And then when you come back, you know, you're lucky you got a job.
Right.
You know, because there's 10 guys waiting who will do it for less.
He kept you on your feet.
Never said, it was just kind of, it was the way I felt. Yeah. I got a lot of insecurities and issues, you know. It was just, I always felt like, oh God, you know, if I had a bad match or not a match that I was pleased with.
But I remember that one time we were overseas. It was like a 23 day bus trip. And it's like day 2 into it, and the heel bus, air conditioner bus, just fucking, it's not working at all. It's hot as shit. It's humid. And one of the agents is like, nah, the air conditioner's not busting. I'm like, dude, the fucking refrigerator doesn't work. I mean, the refrigeration, it's just, now it's another day onto it. So finally, we're in the back, and all the guys are sitting in their underwear playing cards. It's so hot on the bus. And I was the champion at the time, and I said to him, I said, you know what, man, fuck this. I said, you know, I told Tony Gurria, I said, Tony, I said, you need to tell Vince that we're not working tomorrow unless this fucking bus gets fixed. That's for me and the rest of the boys in the heel bus. Lo and behold, fucking next morning, that bus was fixed. But it was just like one of those situations. But when I said it and I went to bed that night, I didn't sleep a wink because I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a ticket fucking home in the morning because, you know, how dare you fucking say that the conditions aren't right? You're lucky to have a fucking job.
But, you know, as time went on, it's guys like, I always felt there's 2 times when you have power. When you don't have anything and you don't care, or when you're secure and you don't care. Like, because I'm sure Warrior would have sat on that bus with no AC. He would, I get it, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
The bitchy wheel gets the grease, you know? Like, I remember it wasn't long after that when we'd start saying, tell them to get Corona or Sol beer. Get the Mexican beer. We're not drinking that fattening ass German beer. Have 10 cases of beer on that bus, iced down every night.
Yeah, because I
And
mean,
they
you drive for 5 hours and you drink that damn German beer. You know, it's one thing if you drink 1 or 2 beers a night. When you're like us, a couple of cone heads, and you're drinking, you know, 24 beers
until they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop and get more.
But I mean, you know, it's a completely different situation. But it was one of those deals. Like if you know, then it becomes a situation where it's like a kid that cries. You know, it doesn't take them long to realize, well, the only way I'm going to get these people to respond to me is to fucking be a prick and a bitch. I remember one time me and Hunter
And as the man, you're kind of
right.
You're the champ.
You have to do that for the boys. Like you're the one, and there were champions in front of us that didn't do that. They just were worried about themselves and didn't give a fuck about what happened to the guys that were underneath them. And I remember one time me and Hunter, he drove with me and we got low on gas. It was a blizzard. We left late. It was pretty new. And we were going, I think it was to Wilkes-Barre to do a television taping. And we're dragging our bag.
Frank Zane, man.
I believe it was. And we get to the back door and I said, watch this and learn. Because they were fucking furious because I had a ton of interviews. I took my foot, I kicked that back door and I walked in. I said, who the fuck booked this shithole? And everybody just went from complete offense to going, oh. And I just screamed all the way into the locker room. Just anybody that just went off, just went like, it was like a whirlwind. Now anybody that would have saw that would have went, Nash, what a fucking asshole. It was a game. The whole fucking business is a work. And I'd go to the locker room, sit down and go, okay, now.
You're pretty convincing when you do that.
Well, I've had some practice.
You're pretty good at it.
I'm a good screamer. I can ask anybody that's smart.
Remember that time we backed Bischoff down in his office after he fired a kid? I'm leaning against the door so no one kicks the door in. Or was it Philly or something? I don't know where it was. I walk in, you're out in the arena. Walk in, hear about kid got hurt. We out here? Yeah. We got a place to go? Already talked to Vince. Where's Bischoff? Let's go. So we go, he's signing on the thing, Eric. Kev kicks the door open. Bischoff's behind the desk back there. Kev walks in, he's real dramatic too. Taking his watch off, putting it in his pocket. Bischoff's behind the desk. He's looking at me like, you're the only one who can like calm him down, right? And I'm looking at him going, hey man, fuck you, you're on your own. I'm leaning against the door so no one can come in. Not like anybody would have helped Bischoff anyway.
No, he had so much heat with everybody then.
Motherfucker, fire our food once you fire us too, motherfucker. He dodged, he was in bang hand. You guys aren't going anywhere. You aren't going anywhere. That was the downfall of it then. Brady shifted that. Kid was on Raw the next week.
Yeah.
And we acted like babies the rest of the time.
And we took our ball and went home.
Taylor was an agent then.
But it was great because we were hot, and they went. A kid went over there, and then they showed up like Norfolk and said, "Give us our guys, you got Nash and Hall hostage." So they actually, So actually, they were smart. That was some pretty creative booking.
Yeah. Bischoff recently said about Scott that you were a constant problem and one of the biggest heat seekers he ever worked with. He criticized Kevin in his book as well. Are you guys surprised after you took WCW to number one how negative he has been, I guess, publicly about you guys?
Well, who published the book?
I'm not sure.
Was it not a WWE book?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
So fuck. I mean,
cash, country creates cash or something. I never read it.
Well, my whole thing is
my whole thing is this. Right? Some other guy wrote it.
Yeah, Eric's a friend of mine. Eric, Eric made me rich. Eric paid us Eric made us both rich. I don't have any problem with Eric. The thing about Eric, and we've said it 100 times, you can motherfuck him and he'll motherfuck you back. And then 30 minutes later, you walk in and he gets the bar. Hey, you fucking prick, you want a beer? You're like, yeah, you buying, asshole? Sure. Boom, you have a beer and it's over with.
Right. You can go fuck you to him and still do business.
Right.
I always like that about him.
He's a guy.
He is a guy.
He's a guy.
Whose idea was it to get Eric so involved in the angles?
It is.
It
is.
What were your thoughts on that?
I'll give it a try. I knew I guaranteed money.
Yeah. When I remember my feeling, I was, like you were talking before about leaving Vince to go to WCW. I had asked for more money. I didn't get it. Kid was talking to Barry Bloom, who became our agent. And I said, well, damn, they're going to pay you what? And you get days off? I said, find out how bad they want me. I didn't even know they even had any interest in me.
Right.
Vince, I just don't want to be late to a free autograph session.
Yeah, at the Jiffy Lube.
And
for 3 hours in a stall with no heat.
So then when I found out there was some interest, and I said, shoot, I gave my notice. As soon as I gave my notice, I was dirty on a piss test that was 6 weeks old.
Right. I'll never forget it when he'd given his notice, and because at this point, we were already like inseparable. And I started wearing his shirt every TV. I kept wearing that purple Razor shirt that he had. I was just like,
then everybody was.
Yeah.
Sean got hot.
Yeah.
Because he was staying.
Yeah. Why is everybody wearing his shirt?
I remember talking to Kev, going, Kev, man, I'm leaving. And he went, I'm staying. That was before you had that match with Brett in the cage when Taker came up to the
well, that's the whole thing. I was going to stay, and then we had the match. It was like an in your house. I think it was in Louisville. And I had, at the Royal Rumble, Taker had Brett beat, and I fucked him. So then Taker came back in the next one, and I should have had, what I want to do is have to go ahead and powerbomb Brett. And as I walked to go open the cage, have Taker grab me and pull me in.
But he came up from underneath.
Sweet. Right. He came, but Brett wouldn't let me stick him with my finish to where it would have been a clear win for me. And but it would have taken me and Mark's angle to the next level, because I would have cost him the championship. He would have cost me the championship. We were talking about doing business because we knew at this point we were going to be co-main event at WrestleMania 12. And Brett was already going to be in the main event, and Brett already had the angle with Sean because they were going 60 minutes. And Brett just fucking boo-boo face. We're sitting there in this room, and he goes, Brett kept going, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And fucking Taker, who never really goes off, goes, motherfucker, this isn't about you. It's about me and Kev. It makes our match better. I don't want to do it. So we just went back and forth. I walked right down. Scott was standing by the apron. I walked right down. I said, I'm fucking out of here. Tell Bischoff I'm coming too.
Because then I went, oh, good. Because just by coincidence, our contracts ended within a days each.
Yeah, well, I think we're 13 days apart.
But I had been there a couple of years or so before. But then I remember going, and you have this contract with WCW that's private, can't show it to anybody confidential. So I went, well, if you go, and then I had this favored nations clause where they said, this is all we can afford. This is it. Well, you won't mind putting that in writing, then will you? So if anybody else comes in and gets paid more and gets more perks, you got to match it for me. So then they said, well, we can't do anybody. List 10 guys, top 10 guys in the business, you think.
All right.
So Kev was one of my guys. So I said, Kev, this is what I'm getting. If you come in, try to get more, get more.
So we went in, and then it was a situation where then we came in and got over, and then we fucking we renegotiated on them. I think twice in the first 6 months.
Right. I think it was 3 times altogether in 18.
Yeah,
because when they wanted to hire Brett, they came to us again. Remember?
Yeah, Brett wanted big money, which they would have had to pay us.
And we called him. That's the time he did come.
Yeah, we said, "Fucking do it, dude, because we're going to become richer if you come."
When I took the deal with WCW, I remember the last show for Vince was in Madison Square Garden, the famous Woo, where we got in trouble and broke kayfabe. I really felt like I was just getting the money. I had no idea that the NWO thing was going to blow up like it is. I had no idea we were doing the NWO. I hadn't talked to Bischoff at all. It had all been through lawyers and agents. And, I met him. I drove to Macon from Atlanta in the car with him.
When he pitched the idea to you guys, did you guys think in the back of your heads that it's going to get over as well as it did?
He pitched it to me, and
Kev came up with the finish of Bash at the Beach
that
made it so hot. And Hulk messed up the finish, a little bit. And we never got the 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But other than that, it was sweet.
Yeah, because they didn't have a third man. And I pitched the idea. I said, I called him. I said, what if we did this? And he said, oh, fuck. He said, that's money. So I pitched to Eric, and he pitched it to Hulk. You can say what you want about Hulk, but Hulk ain't going to let that fucking money train leave without him getting a fucking seat on it. So, but when Eric came to my house and pitched me the NWO idea, I saw that. Like, I still got that basketball vision. It was more of a twist. He came to my crib, and we went out to the strip club, and I was living in Phoenix then. It was the Bourbon Street Circus out in Phoenix, and he pitched the idea to me, and I thought, in my mind, like, yeah, that'll work because it's going to look like fucking we came over from Vince's TV. I mean, that's going to, it's really going to work. And I'm thinking in my mind, fuck, legally, can we do that? Which obviously we couldn't.
I remember the first TV I was on, Bischoff was just going to send me down the aisle and have me go and record and do an interview, like I worked for WCW. And it was Larry Zbyszko's idea to send me through the crowd and interrupt a match, but not interrupted by jumping the guys. Just walk in and start talking and have the 2 guys work and go, oh, hey, Scott, what are you doing? We're having a match. No, this is more important. And I know that they're not going to jump me because they're not supposed to. So I just go and start talking. I don't even look at them. And that was all Zbyszko's idea. And I thought that was crucial because that hadn't been done.
No.
And I remember the only thing they told me to say, well, they told me a few things, but they said, you people know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Because that was a big deal in the lawsuit that started that day.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys sense jealousy from WCW boys when you guys went over there and you guys started getting really over?
Well, fuck yeah. I mean, it was a situation. But it's the same thing that happened when we went back to Vince in 2002 or whatever it was. You walk in someplace and everybody's, pissed in their little spot, and you go in there and you get over because no matter what they want to say about Scott and I, the reason it always works is because it's real. I mean, you can put 2 guys together, but it's just like if 2 guys have that bond, it's just like, and they knew. I mean, the reason NWO worked is because fucking people would watch the show and go, well, that luchador shit and that, this and all that, but that shit at the end with those guys, those big fucking guys, that shit's real. You can't tell me that's not real. And that's all people want. I mean, it's easier to believe 2 big, his work's real snug, And I mean, he's way more talented. I mean, he can work any style, but our work's snug enough to where there's not holes in it where you go, oh, that didn't look good or that.
Yeah, not many groaners with us.
No.
We'll potato you.
Yeah, we'll cement next year before we'll fucking miss you.
Remember that time at MGM at Disney when we did the thing? They opened the show with us in the back, and you spiked Mysterio into the thing, and I heard the Associated Press called the office because they thought that was a shoot. They thought we really were Vince's guys taking over.
People actually were watching that live and called. There was like 90-something calls.
Because instead of doing the normal opening with the fireworks and all that stuff, they just cut to it. But
they kind of ran with the cops type. They ran with the camera wasn't in place. They were running as they came around. It was like you guys were just dropping something backing up. Remember?
They were real specific because at that time too, Turner's Television he wasn't R-rated like Vince.
Right.
Like Vince went. So you couldn't hit a guy with a baseball bat. So the guy would be down, and then the camera would come, and then you just drop the bat.
Right.
And you hear the clink, clink, we were using aluminum bats. It was the implied violence, but it was effective. Even more effective, maybe. But like when you spike, people still talk about when you spiked Ray to the side of that trailer, man.
Yeah, because that was sweet. It was. And I mean, thank God, I didn't hurt Ray, but I mean, Ray was like, "No, do it. Throw me hard as you can." Ray don't give a Ray wants to drop by.
Yeah, he is too.
Yeah, he is good for him.
Did any of the boys ever say anything to you guys about something you might have said about them during a match where you guys did commentary on? Where you guys used to do like the semi-shoot comments and stuff?
Everybody hated us. I mean, it was no doubt about it.
We were pretty I felt, from my point of view, I don't know, Kevin may agree or disagree. I think we were kind of used to being hated. If you're on top of it for Vince, you're hated anyway. The only guys who don't hate you is your little clique of guys you hang with.
Or maybe that guy if he's working that angle with you, for 6 months and he's on top with it, then because there's always that bond when you work with a guy for a long period of time because you got to trust him with your body every night. But besides that, I always felt blessed that in New York, I had 4 guys that I could count on. And I used to look around that locker room and be like, there ain't nobody else in this locker room, that when push comes to shove, these 2 guys might travel together, but one of them said, one of you got to go. You got to tell me why you need to stay. He'd fucking cut that guy's throat in a minute. And I always knew that. I thought that was the power that we had is when it came down to it. Like I remember sometimes like when he and I were working Survivor Series, and he worked the whole fucking match. I worked like 85% of it, and Sean was on the apron the whole match. He came in and Scott did something. I hooked Scott. Scott ducked. Sean kicked me. So we're all on the phone that next week, or maybe it was like a couple months later actually, because it used to take about 90 days to get paid.
He got paid more than he.
Fucking Scott goes, how much you get us? I got 35. He goes, I got 35 too. Sean goes, I got 50. We went fucking
in a bearskin, right?
Yeah, in a bearskin. But it was like, that motherfucker. But like he didn't do anything the whole match. He just came in and threw a kick, and he got 50 grand. So then we called him on it, and they're like, I could just see JJ. Hello, what the fuck is it? Excuse me, Vince. They're fucking talking to each other.
Yeah, which was unheard of.
Right.
I mean, maybe some guys did it before.
And then Vince gives you, they're right here. Vince is right here, JJ's right here. Oh, really? Let me talk to JJ. They do fucking know. We'll make it up to you. It's just like, And then at that point right there, all right, we've been getting fucked forever. And then, it's like anything else. When somebody gives you an offer at that point, it's just like, gee, I wonder why they left. We're the bad guys. We're the fucking bad guys.
Somehow we did an interview with Kamal, and he said that he went ahead and saw the books of what he got paid when he worked with Hogan, and the difference was ridiculous, he said. He went to the office, and they were like, they gave more money or something.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad he got more money, but, I mean, I always try to look at all sides of it, The idea is, if you're the boss, like, even sometimes we knew we were getting screwed, but Vince knew, like when you first got there, you're making the best money you ever made in the wrestling business. You feel like you should be making more because, if you see a lot of your merchandise around, you're getting good reactions from the fans or blah, blah, blah. But it's hard to really bitch too much when you're having your best year. Vince knows that.
Right.
So he could exploit that for a couple of years.
And there was never a year that we were there that we did make more than the last year. You know, so it was like you never went backwards. So it was just like, and at the same time, how much you want to bitch, you know, and then you're making $800,000. It's just, you know, when you're bouncing, making $75,000 a year, guys are pulling shivs and guns and everything else.
Yeah, but the girls are naked.
The girls aren't naked.
And sometimes
I'll tell you what, yeah, sometimes. I'll tell you, like, working in the strip joint, man, was there ever a fucking day you didn't want to go to work?
No.
I don't remember any.
I remember I got so callous to it that I used to like it at the end of the night when the chicks would put their sweaters and jeans on. Like, I go, wow, look at her. You know, you see them in clothes. And, oh.
Did you guys ever have a sense that you couldn't totally trust Hogan?
Speaking for myself, I was, I'm not ashamed to admit, I was really envious and I guess jealous of Hulk. You know, I mean,
As a lover?
well, as a performer, no, but I mean, I like when I used to stand next to Bischoff and go, and when he was in the ring and watch and go, he's 3 times better than me. You know, but
They knew he was making, Hulk was making like $1 million a month back then.
But
you know, so he's 12 times better than us.
Right, but then when you get around him, it's not his fault. You know, God bless him for getting it, because that paves the way for other guys to get it. And we always said he can do his part. Like when we talked about Warrior earlier, book him with the right guy, man. Hulk can do his part. You know, for most of his career, he was a hero and he won, and he was great at doing that. Being a villain, being a heel is a little bit different. It's different. It's a little more difficult. And
You got to make that guy.
Yeah,
you got to be there for the comeback. And
yeah, that wasn't really his forte.
But he did it.
He did the best he could.
Yeah, I mean,
See,
I think
and
that
we went out of our way to protect it because we featured him where you don't get to Hulk.
right.
And they made to make it even more like you never got to Hulk.
Right.
Because it was the right thing to do.
And we knew it. Yeah, we looked at it too with the dynamic at that time. You know, it was like for the younger demographic, we kind of came across because there's not a whole lot of really like black characters on TV. We almost had like that kind of a thug, street cred type thing going on, and then we gave that rub to Hulk. At the same time, he gave us that incredible iconic, like, wow, Hogan's bad, and Hall and Nash are with him. So I mean, it gave us an immediate. I mean, as far as if you look at mainstream, it was such a. So, but I remember the first time we went to Universal and did some promos, and fucking Hogan went on like an 8-hour rant. We took a break and we went over the corner. We went, this ain't gonna fucking work, because he and I are soundbite guys.
Remember the time he showed up? It was that the time he showed up with the
Nick had the fucking
Hollywood's Wolfpack airbrush T-shirt and stuff.
We went fucking out.
Because I wanted the Wolfpack is Kev, myself, and Kid. Because we'd given up our identities basically when we left Vince. That was what was so sweet about us leaving together, is we were the outsiders, Razor and Diesel.
Right.
But we were the outsiders. I don't care what you call us, Just, the paychecks always said Scott Hall. They never said Razor.
No, they never said Diesel.
But so I wanted that Wolfpack thing because I was ripping off the Freebirds. I was a huge Freebird mark. And you were talking about being late that time. The Michael Hayes one.
Yeah. I just said it today. I said, right today. I said,
I didn't know what you meant.
That's what I said.
I thought you meant come in with Jack Daniels.
No, I was meaning that just now. You'd be so late. I'm just happy to see you.
Yeah, don't be 5 minutes late. He said, Kid, don't be 5 minutes late. You get screamed at. Said, if you're going to be late, be an hour late. Then they're just happy you showed up. And it's true.
It is true.
But anyway, we were doing that. There was one interview segment thing going on where I had to throw the penalty flag, like personal foul, gimmick infringement. Hey, you're the man, all that stuff. But you know what? No, it's not Hollywood's Wolfpack. You're not in the Wolfpack. We're the Wolfpack.
Yeah, you're Hollywood.
Because everything, I felt like I learned so much about creative property and intellectual property through that lawsuit deal.
Yeah.
That anytime we said anything, like we started at 4 Life, we stole from Mac 10, from listening to Yoko's music on the back of that, and Too Sweet and all that stuff. And then we'd come to TV next week and be on a T-shirt. But we're not getting
We're not
paid.
getting
We're not
paid.
getting royalties.
Right.
It's our catchphrases, but you know, they're taking it as
Yeah,
their
for
intellectual
life.
property
Oh,
because we're
it's-
saying it on their show. You know, I had to end up, you know, years and years later in about $100,000 in legal fees on my behalf to go after them and get, you know, to get my money, to get some merchandise money back. And I had to sue, you know, at that point it was Universal Wrestling Holdings or whatever the fuck it was. But
The main reason too, besides thinking it was a cool name, I chose Wolfpack because of the fact that I thought, well, North Carolina State owns this. They won't be able to rip this off.
yeah, you can't.
So they couldn't put Wolfpack on anything. And we were Wolfpack anyway, with the umlauts over the O. So they came out with these red shirts with the wolves on them, and they sold like crazy. So now, if you're going to split up Hall and Nash and Hogan and Savage, you know, who are you going to put together?
Right.
It seems like it'd be natural, us against them, two generations against each other, blah, blah, blah. Oh no, that's how slick they were, boy.
Bang.
I'm not even, my creative property, now I'm not even into Wolfpack. I'm in Hollywood black and white. I'm in NWO black and white with Hogan. Remember that time you kept Barry Van, you had an interview, you wouldn't put him on front. You said, you're the man or something, you're supposed to say something to me.
Wouldn't do it. That's like when they used to tell me that, you know, he was suspended for the longest time, and they tell me, you know, go out and bury Scott. Go out and bury Scott. And I go on TV and I bury him, or I buried Hogan because he was sniffing up Rodman's ass and all that other shit. And Bischoff.
I remember one time I was watching TV and you were wearing my shirt. I don't know, just an outsider shirt was doing, but I remember one time I went out and said, let he who's out without sin cast the first stone.
That's right.
It was like, whoa. Remember when they fired Kid? Everybody wore the 6-ball NWO shirt. Everybody. That kind of stuff means something when you're sitting at home.
Yeah, it does, man. I remember that for a while there. He was at home, and I did segments with a Scott Hall cutout. You know, and it would do a number. You know, it was like.
Did you get heat for doing any of that?
Yeah, I got a lot of heat.
You know, that was the sweet stuff about being alive too.
Right. At the same time, though, you know, they tell me to go out there and bury him.
Right.
You know, and I'd be like, all right, okay. Fuck, once I'm out there, I forgot, I froze. And what are you going to do? They can't do anything. You're giving me this cutout to go out there. I'm not going to fucking bury my buddy. Fuck you.
And his hair was funny.
Getting back to Hogan, did the two of you guys get along with him, or did you guys butt heads a lot with booking moves?
I think it took a while. You know, we traveled so much on those. I don't know about. I'm not going to speak for Scott on this, but I'm sure you know that you'll probably agree with me that we spent so much time on those private planes back then. They would go down and get Hogan, and then come and get Randy, and then come get Scott, and then come get me. Or actually, no, fucking, me and Scott would have to drive someplace because, you know, they wouldn't, you know, we're not picking on both of you. I'd have to fly someplace. But we'd spend a lot of time just on those Lears, you know, we drank and partied and.
That is the way to travel.
Yeah.
They wait for you. You know, there's no rushing through the airport.
No, it's just like you want to stop at the strip club and have a couple of cocktails before you get on the plane at night. They got to wait.
Yeah, on the way to the match.
Right. But anyway, all of a sudden it became a situation where, you know, you look at a guy and you're like, well, he's not one of the boys. Like Hogan's not one of the boys anymore because, you know, we're still driving around with tourists, making towns and shit. Then all of a sudden you get thrown in that and you realize it's like, you know, you're going to become whatever your process is and you become accustomed to those things. And yeah, all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden we weren't like the rest of the boys in the locker room. And it wasn't that we had changed, but it's like the mode of transportation had changed, the viewpoint from other people, the perception that other people had of looking in at us. But he and I were the same two prick jackoffs we were, you know, and when we met in shit was in 91.
Well, you know what they say too? That just made me think of that old thing where they say, you know, there's how other people see you, how you see yourself, and how you really are. You know? So who knows? I mean, and see, the thing about us is like, we didn't care.
No.
Like, I just assume get along with everybody, but if I don't really care because I already have a couple of friends. You know, and if you got a couple of close buddies through thick and thin, like that's all I need. You know, I mean, especially in a wrestling environment. If you get, and especially with Kev's a special kind of cat because he's like he talks about kicking the door and rah. Once he found out that worked, he wasn't afraid to use that. And see, a lot of times I wasn't sure, and I know if it was a shoot or not. So he is a good actor though, but he just fuck this place sucks.
I can go from 0 to 100 pretty fast. I mean, I'm still, I got a volatile temper. So it's like, but I learned like early in life, you know, if you can have a conversation with somebody, it's beginning to become a little bit of an argument. If I take a mini step into their personal space, 9 times out of 10, all of a sudden it's a physical advantage you have, and you realize. I see my son already, you know, because he's so much bigger than the kids he's around. I see him use that. I mean, it's just something that's.
Cody's 6'7".
I know, I saw him. Fuck, he's a big spoon.
I observed Kev. You know, I've been around in New York, and then when we got to WCW, it's a little bit different because in New York, there was guys who knew more than you or had ideas. Like Pat Patterson helped the way our Kliq thought about business. I think Pat's a genius.
I do too.
And when we got to WCW, there were some smart guys there, and there were some guys in powerful position who weren't wrestling guys. And so a lot of times we'd be standing around in Hulk's locker room trying to figure out what we're going to do in our segment. Hulk had creative control in his contract over his character.
Right.
Of course, Bischoff is the boss, and then the rest of us are going to. I'm one of them guys. I gotta say what I think. Anyway, you know, I care about wrestling. So I used to use the same tired line.
I need the
You know, you're my boss. I'll do whatever you want. I want to start by clarifying that statement because I need this high-paying job. But if it was up to me, and it's not, I think we should do this.
Or you do the one, I used to like the one you always do. You go, we can do that, and it'll probably fucking suck. But if you really want it to work, then immediately it's just like, you're not saying the idea is completely bad. We'll do it. It'll suck. But what if? Bad or no bad. Bad or no bad.
I remember one time when Terry Shadow came up to me and said, well, why don't we just do the old thing? And I said, I hate it already. If it's the old thing. That was one thing that was our standard early in the NWO was we didn't do anything. If it had already been done, no. That was no.
Somebody pitched an idea like, remember in Luton? Nah, fuck, I don't want to do something Watts did. You know, no, I don't want to do that.
Do you guys think Eric was in the right place at the right time, or do you think he was really smart?
I think it's smart.
I think he's smart.
Okay. When
smart enough to be in the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
When Vince would have Hunter and DX come over to cut promos at the arenas, did you guys ever consider going outside and trying to work your own angles out of it?
Tried to do it in Norfolk. I couldn't find them.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would have been sweet.
I wanted to walk out there and go, what the fuck are you guys doing here? On their TV, because, I mean, they were live.
Right.
You know, I wanted to go out there, what the fuck? Because it was their TV. I could do it, you know, nothing they could say to me going off.
But see, a lot of them, the thing is, we were doing live TV at the time too. I wasn't even aware a lot of time what was going on until it was too late. And then they made sure we were doing something when they were out.
Yeah.
And they had security keeping them away, which just helped their deal better.
That was such an incredibly fun time in the business. I mean, it was like, because, you know, like Hulk and I and Scott, like that, there was a mesh there. And it was, going to work on Mondays was like, it was a party. You know, it was, you know, because we'd run and go get in Hogan and Macho's locker room, because they had beer and we were in there drinking and be like, they kicked me like, where's it? It's not even ours. It's not. It's theirs. Talk to Hulk. It's Hulk's beer.
There is no alcohol policy.
Right, one time me and him were at spring break down in Panama City, and we came in all hammered. Bischoff was coming after us. We had big suitcases of Budweiser, Bud Light or something. We ran, and they're like trying to catch us. We run into Hogan's.
But it was your idea to stop at the beach store on the way.
We got like board shorts and
spring break outfits. Everybody else is in their wrestling gear, NWO shirts and tights and boots.
We had spring
Didn't you
break.
get the memo? Spring break.
So we run into
The
Hogan.
ring is in the middle of a swimming pool.
We run into Hogan's trailer and hand like Hogan the beer, like boom, boom, boom. That Mongo, we're halfway through the beer, we're laughing. All of a sudden, the door kicks open. Bischoff sticks his head in. He looks, and there's Hogan with a beer in his hand with the rest of us. And there's nothing.
And that was the night when Bischoff comes up to me in Panama City. One of those spring breaks comes up to me and goes, "You going in?" I said, "In the pool?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna have Giant press me, throw me in the pool. Make sure nobody else goes in." He goes, "No, into rehab." He wanted me to go to rehab, and I said, "No." I said, "I'll go." Yeah, I went.
Are you guys surprised that Goldberg speaks negatively about you guys? And he said that you guys tried to sabotage him.
No, he's a mark.
I'm not surprised.
I was going to ask Scott. You actually said that Goldberg was a mark, and I was going to ask you if
You never got it.
See,
I like Bill as a human being. I like him personally outside the ring. He was a mark. He's one of these guys that just like,
I would have been over if 20 years during my career I would have never got beat.
what the fuck? I mean, what kind of mentality
I
is
think I
that?
said on the other interview, his first road trip was Roanoke, Virginia. He's standing at the baggage carousel like a lost puppy. I've been on the road a lot of years. I go from, "Hey man, who you riding with?" "Oh, nobody." I said, "Look, bro, I get free cars, free rooms. Come with me if you want. I know where the gym is. I know where the restaurants are. I know where the building is. Make this
Did
look
you do the radio thing too?
Yeah, he didn't stop. It's hard to that bald head.
Dude. Put rosin on your ball.
And then because he wasn't Goldberg then, And then when he started to get successful, his early contract that was coming to an end, I introduced him to Barry Bloom, who negotiated a hell of a deal for Bill, and he ended up becoming a very wealthy man. So why he would have heat with me?
Yeah, every time you sit in your Barracudas and all that shit, just realize who bought those.
I don't know, but I have heat with everybody. So
Exactly.
I'm not worried about it.
To me, he's passionate. He's got a personality. He's an alpha male. It's just like, I mean, if you're not he or I, 9 times out of 10, you ask 100 people in a room, "Do you like those two?" They'll be like, "No, I don't like them."
You want to work with them?
Yeah,
I'll
work with them. I'll work with
They'll
them.
make you look great.
But I don't like them.
Do you guys feel that WCW would have been successful without you guys if you guys never came in? Do you think they would have reached that?
Yeah, because they were doing that whole fucking Dungeon of Doom, Curtis fucking brother, my brother.
Oh, and coming soon, Glacier.
And they had that fucking deal where the Yeti battled Giant, the super trucks on top of Kobo. Yeah, they were going in the right direction. I gotta say, fuck yeah, it'd have been good shit.
The whole alimony angle with Flair and Mons and that's
I always thought Alex Wright was completely confused. Das Wunderkind was a wonderful lover.
Do you guys think Vince Russo gets too much blame or too little for the end of WCW? And did you guys feel that he was a good booker?
Fuck, giving him the blame for the end of WCW is like telling fucking the guy with the cello to take the fucking wheel on the Titanic, Hey, you guys, we're almost complete. You drop the cello, come take the wheel. Fucking, it's that fucking cello player's fault, the Titanic song. Fucking, that thing was dead. You couldn't have resurrected that. It just wasn't possible.
A lot of wrestlers say that they never knew who was in charge of WCW. Is that accurate?
I knew it was a charge.
I knew he was in charge.
Must have been the Mexican guys. Didn't speak good English. It's fucking a barrier there.
Do you guys?
We're in charge. Shut up, bring some pills.
Do you guys think that Hogan ever used you guys, or did you guys ever think that you used Hogan?
I would hope. I mean, that's the guy.
Yeah, that was the whole deal.
Yeah.
Used each other.
It's like a fucking pack of vampires.
Yeah.
You sleep for fucking too long, so you're gonna wake up with a couple of teeth in your throat.
Hulk was in the Shark Tank environment in New York, and he flourished. He was the Great White.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I mean, we knew we were getting a rub off Hulk, and he knew. We all knew what we were adding to the equation. Everybody. Once I got past the kind of envy and stuff, and then started looking at it in a positive way, like, wait a minute, this guy's paving the way. What am I bitching about? This could, and I'll never forget Hulk watching us do jobs all the time and realizing that it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
We were getting beat every night, every night and still over because when we had the tax test, we did a thing where we do a job and then Eric would reverse it.
By some stipulation, that reversed it. So pay-per-view, the
people paid money.
They paid their money and they got to see us get beat.
We always did clean.
And it almost became a situation where, okay, now how these two bricks going to come back on Monday and get them back. So,
because remember, Hulk at that time did not do jobs and he didn't have to. And we've been around him. And
we made him do that one for Piper.
He put Piper over in the middle with the sleeper. And then when it was Piper's turn to put Mach over in San Francisco at Super Brawl, he wouldn't do it. He had to do the tape brass knucks. And I went off on him in the hotel bar. Bischoff and Piper were here. Me and Hulk were here. It was one of those places where you had to kind of stand at a little round bar thing, little tables all around. And I just was going off on Piper. Fucking mark. I said, you fucking mark. Remember, that was when he said he spent a week in Alcatraz. I said, I bet you're real popular in Alcatraz. Lots of cartons of cigarettes and candy bars out there, cutesy. And Hulk was just going, after that, he said, God, brother, no one ever stood up for me before. Stuck up for me. Because he was, he was always a man.
You think Bischoff was ever in over his head at any time?
The thing with Bischoff was, he would, if you know the true story about that whole situation there, that he was given WCW Nitro live under the guys from the higher ups that the fucking thing would fail miserably and they could finally get rid of wrestling. And it took off. And see, he never had the support of that company. I always looked at the hierarchy of TBS and thought, here's these fucking morons that, they're paying they're saying, well, they got a $40 million payroll at WCW. Well, the Braves have a $68 million payroll, and they're doing a 0.7 on their baseball games. We're giving you at that point, we're giving them 5 hours of live television a week.
And the Saturday show.
And the Saturdays and all that. Well, actually, the Thunder wasn't live, but we were giving them, I think, 7 hours of totally original broadcasting. And I think the least it was doing was like a 2.5, and there wasn't anything on their fucking radar that was anywhere near that. This is way before Closer and any of the other shit was on the show. So just like, I said, I remember one time I was talking to Brad Siegel. We were somewhere and they'd just done some like Holocaust type movie type deal. And they spent $70 million to make it and market it. Maybe not that much. Maybe it was $40 million to make the movie and market it. And they showed it and it did like a 1.1. And I just sat there, I looked at him, I said, I said, you're gonna play that how many times? I said, as an executive, it's better for you to be able to go to the Cable Ace Awards and say, oh, did you get a chance to see our great film? Than it is to go, fuck, we got the #1 cable show in America, which we were at the time. So to me, I looked at that, and Eric was against that on a daily basis. And when I started helping Eric somewhat creatively, it became so apparent that like, fuck, he's an island, he's just out there by himself, and they want him to fail. So it was a fucked up situation. And if you ever have been to Vince's office, and we're at the WCW office in their heyday, fucking the production office at WWE kills that thing.
We used to say that, WCW was a television company that produced wrestling, and Vince is a wrestling company that produces a television show. But I remember we used to say, the first time you drive down the highway in Stamford, you see Vince's office from the highway, you go, wow, that's pretty cool. Wow, I work for that company.
It'll always be Titan Tower to me. That's just what it was.
But then I remember the first time we went in that CNN center, like, woo, it's a little bit different here, baby.
Yeah, it's different, but at the same time, you go up there, and there's not a fucking soul in the office that has a clue.
At any time at WCW, when you guys were employed, did your contracts ever come up and allow you to negotiate with Vince again?
No.
Okay.
No, they signed us. We signed like a 5. I think after the first year, we signed like a 5-year deal. By that time, they'd sold.
We were negotiating that one.
Yeah,
you were in Detroit. Remember?
Yeah.
We did it on speakerphone. Yeah. Because then Kev was just going, look, I'm in the hospital. Just get it done. He's doing it on the phone. and it's coming
I
out.
don't give a fuck.
I'm there, Barry's there, I think our lawyer's there, Bischoff is there, attorney's
My
there.
dad was in the hospital. He was on his deathbed. I mean, thank God he pulled out of it. But you know, I'm in there with my dad. My dad's, you know, he's beyond
I wasn't
critical.
trying to make a light of that.
No, I know. I mean, I'm saying though. I mean, they're talking to me, and I'm on the phone going, "Yeah, fuck. I don't give a fuck. We'll quit." And they okay. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody just sat there, and Scott just gave one of these when it was over, like. And they were like, "Okay, we'll just sign the deal."
See, that was the funny thing too, when Kevin do this fuck that thing, the Bishop would like he would look at me like, "You're friends with him, right? Can you say something?" And I used to go, "Well, he is right. This does suck, and we should be making a lot more. I'll see what I can do. I can't promise anything." It was just like,
Casper, Wyoming was another one.
Bad cop, worst cop.
Remember when we were fucking, we were red hot, and then they just came in Casper, Wyoming at that television tape and said to us, Sting and Lex are really bitching and they just need to get you tonight. Remember I did the Barry Windham over the top, and they bounced you all around. We were walking back, we were taking our tape off, we were walking back. We were both going, "We're fucking out of here. We're fucking out of here." Because Jody Hamilton had sat there, you know, Jody broke me in. And Jody's like, he heard what they're going to do. He goes, "Oh, goddamn," he said, "maybe I'm old school, but you got a hot air balloon and you put the heat in it and it's starting to rise." He goes, "Why the fuck would you take air out of it when it's 4 feet off the ground?" And we just went, "All right, I just want to make sure that we weren't the only one. I'm not a mark here, right?" He's like,
Yeah, but you know what? I always, that whole NWO thing, especially with you and I, the way we were so relaxed, I think, when we were there. We'd been working longer and we knew we were getting paid. So we were really comfortable and it was working, and a lot of stuff was our ideas.
right.
So I think, and plus, like, we were buddies. And I think a lot of that vibe was coming across, although we always were, you know how it was when we went out with Hulk, we got booed. And when Kid went out, he got booed. But when we went out, half the time, it depended on who we wrestled, we were babyface.
Right.
And I think some of the top babyfaces were insecure about that until they worked with us and we bounced around like ping pong balls. I think it just kind of changed. I think it became like Japanese style. Like, you do your stuff, we'll do our stuff, and then we'll do the finish.
Real shitty and stuff.
Did you guys ever get frustrated when they kept on adding new members to the NWO?
I don't know. I think we might have been partially responsible for that.
You know, they kept saying how to get somebody over, and at that point, it was just like, fuck, put the NWO pod in their hotel and wake up in the morning, you know.
Yeah, and then we didn't have to make all them
Right.
shit
All of a
towns.
sudden, we didn't have
Put NWO shit on him, send him to town. So
all of a
me and
sudden,
Kevin
we
don't have to
had
go
like a B team. Like, I put them bitches on Thunder, man. Let's go home.
What made the NWO work in your mind, and why hasn't it been able to be duplicated to this day?
I mean, I hate to use the same redundant term. I just think that it was organic. It was at the right, it just everything, you know, never in the history of wrestling really has a guy that top jumped. Like, you know, just showed up on a show. Like Luger jumped, you know, but I think that you know, but I think Scott jumping and then like a couple of days later, like, you know, like me jumping, that was the first time. We were basically two of McMahon's top 5 guys. So, I mean.
Well, that last loop, remember how we said, God, he's still not selling?
Yeah.
We were making the last couple of towns, it was like Philly, Hershey double shot on Saturday or so. And Sunday.
I ain't doing that fucking double shot. Fuck that.
And Sunday we're in the Garden. And Vince and Pat come to the towns. And everything is sold out. He's the main event. I'm semi-main event. We feel, you know, not being marks, but we're part of the reason people are there. The way they did it back then, if you did interviews for the town, that meant you were high up on the card. And that meant you would go to the guys who were on early in the match and go, hey, look, if you didn't do an interview, that means you go about 6-7 minutes and get out of there. Don't go 30 minutes because it's a good house and we go to the ring at 11:30. But
because I gave us,
he never,
the time we showered, I gave us maybe an hour and a half at the bar, which is unacceptable.
No. But yeah, I remember that he never sold.
No, I never sold, man. He never
He
sold.
never sold. Like,
And and knowing him, now like the way I know him, it's just like you can't expect it. He's going to no sell everything.
But I think he did the no sell oversell when he did the Razor diesel guys.
Yeah, when they try to bring them back, the bogus ones.
I mean, that wasn't really it.
But it was me, ask Cain and fear no evil, or whatever that was.
I thought that was like, people asked me about that. I thought like,
We
made me feel like Elvis, man.
Yeah.
Remember where were we? That was the time we walked out of the ring when people were throwing stuff at us.
Little Rock. Which we will be next.
We told them, we said, if you people keep throwing stuff at us, we're leaving.
I remember I got a mic and I said, I can come all the way out here to this shithole town if I can blow my knee out. They were throwing beers.
So they threw stuff and we
left
out of the building.
Right.
To the hotel, and then that's when Vince on his TV apparently had
that night said that
the return of Razor,
which was all we had no idea, man.
We didn't know, man.
And it
phone
played,
rang in the hotel room.
The phone first thing was, this is back in the beeper days, and the old term, your beeper blowing up. I mean, it's like it's all 404 numbers. 911, 911, 911. Fuck you. Then our telephone starts ringing.
I just got.
Do you think a feud between the two of you guys in WCW would have been big business?
What's that?
If you guys would
We
have
worked
feuded
against each other. Remember they split us up?
Never worked. So to me, it's like they tried so many times when the Steiners were hot. We the thing is, it's like brothers are one thing because they're born genetically to each other. They're brothers by birth, but like best friend buddies, I mean that's by choice. So I mean it's even more. I think there's more of a bond between two guys like that. We even tried it for a little while when we were Razor and Diesel.
Yeah.
We'd bump in and do the bumping each other, turn, and
we tried it 2 or 3 times. It never worked.
never worked. We went, this ain't gonna.
But I wrestled tags against you and somebody remember when I was doing the Hogan slow turnaround that I stole?
Yeah.
Remember when Hogan, Giant walked up behind Hogan and Hulk did instead of doing the turn wrestling speed, Hulk did the.
I remember we were at the monitor going, what the fuck?
I remember going, turn, you goof, turn around. Then he did it so long, I went, oh, man.
Note to self.
That guy's a fucking genius. I bet he doesn't even know how good it is. But I'm stealing that.
Absolutely.
So we do the thing where
it was me and Luger. You go.
No, one time it was you and like Ming or something, or somebody. It was whoever it was. It was me and you and then 2 other guys.
Yeah.
So I'd be in there, I'd get beat up. And the Bayface would tag you, but I wouldn't get out. And then it's a thing you got to commit to. But it was also because the fans didn't really want to see us fight, but I was doing the
drinking thing.
And it was like, Kev, come on, straighten him out. So Kev would come in.
The tough
Kev would tag and just stand there. And I would look at the heel and go, oh no, and I go, is it this one? Like in Luger, he go, and I go, is it this one? He go, and I go, oh.
You do the real slow turn.
Just boot in the face, powerbomb, boom.
I remember that.
And sit pouring beer on me sometimes or something.
I guess, Kev, when you went on TV and campaigned for Scott's return, was there an end game in it, or was it just something you did on your own? Because that's also around the same time as Goldberg. I guess he tore up the fictitious contract against Scott.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
Was that the one that was up in that? They did an angle like I think Russo knew that it was magic, and like Russo was booking there. It's like Russo then covertly he'd be like, like he'd write shit in the show for me to do for Scott because it was working. And then we had a little run there before they killed it again. But what was the question?
I don't know. I didn't remember.
Was there an end game to it? I mean, was there plans to bring Scott back? Or
I think in a perfect world, I mean, he was still under contract. I know that I wanted it. I mean, for me, the best years I had was Scott in the ring. So when he left, all of a sudden it's like once again you put the fucking hat on with the light on and you go down the mine. I mean, anything that can make that life on the road even semi-tolerable you want. So, I mean, yeah, I wanted my buddy back.
I think, just speaking as the person involved and on the outside at that point, the way I look at the business is I'd rather work with my buddies, but if the guy's not my buddy, but if he can go, or if he brings, if I have chemistry with him in the ring, I don't care if I get along with him in the locker room or have dinner with him or something. But some guys you get in the ring with and you just click.
Right.
You might not click anywhere else, but in the ring, and it's not even you and him maybe, but it's the way the people react to you. And you go, oh, this is going to be easy. Like remember how over we had Luger?
Yeah.
We had Luger so over that Hulk dropped the strap in Auburn Hills.
Yeah, Detroit.
And Sting bitched.
No, it's true that there's certain guys like Lex was a guy that could always do his part.
Right, kind of in the Hogan way. He knew his role. He could win. He could,
he looked
impressive looking. He could do his interview like.
When I guess Bischoff was demoted and Russo took over in power, did it affect you guys at all?
No. At that point there, I mean, it was,
A done deal.
yeah, it was, you could see the writing on the wall.
I should probably apologize publicly for the way that I did business or didn't do business with Vince Russo, because
He's a TNA man. We can leave here and go. We got another run left, bro.
do it in person.
No,
but I just won't say it now because he's probably the kind of guy who watches these things. But
Not anymore.
I just I don't know. Like I have a bad problem about saying what I think, and I say what I think. And sometimes in wrong settings, I don't have real good people skills. So it was real hard. I wasn't comfortable with him booking my career. So when he'd say things, I was always, but, when I should have just.
Did you always saw him as the guy, at our first run, he was the magazine guy.
And to me, he came in, and maybe deservedly so, but the way I viewed it was, there were such marks at WCW that said, oh, we're going to get the guy, this is the guy that popped Vince's TV. And having worked for Vince, you don't get it, man. He's a small cog in a big-ass machine. This guy, nothing gets done up there without passing by Vince's desk.
Yeah, Vince never signed off on it.
It wasn't like Russo was writing the TVs, He may have been writing, but they're all run by other people for approval.
And I think, and that's probably, that situation will never happen again, because at that point, Vince was in trouble. I mean, financially, the show was in trouble. There were times we were doing double their numbers. So, I mean, it's one of those deals where, like, they're grasping for straws, and Russo, started slowly pulling it out. At that point, Vince had no choice. Now, with them being the number one, that would never.
Vince went R-rated then too.
Yeah,
absolutely. And he knew that Turner's TV was more conservative, and Turner wouldn't do that. They started shooting up the girls' skirts. They started.
Yeah, our
they started. I mean, they had their top babyface doing stuff like this. They were cursing on TV, and we weren't allowed to do that.
No.
I got in trouble the time he booked us with those porno brothers in Phoenix. It's a sweet match. I watched that too.
I don't have that. I don't
you
watch
should
that.
see that. All you cared about was the one girl who was like a freak, remember? Oriental.
Yeah, giant.
But they wouldn't let her work, but then you just went, oh, I'm not doing anything.
I'm not doing it. I brought her all the way. So I was at that
thing in Frisco, watching my face go. That guy called me, you don't want to work with Angle? And Sid?
No. Fuck, I'm not thinking about your German suplexes. Fuck that.
Oh, like you used to?
I'm not going to put my, let's not talk business right now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're talking business.
Were you guys surprised about
Let's wrap this up, bro. I gotta get going.
Were you guys surprised that Zbyszko got so over when he feuded with you guys?
Feuded with him?
Right.
I've said this on the other interview. I'm a huge fan of Larry Zbyszko. He helped me when I was in the AWA and was nobody, but kind of looked the part. I was a big cowboy-looking dude then. And Zbyszko was the top heel. And I went 15-minute Broadway with him in Winnipeg in front of 15,000, biggest crowd I'd ever been in front of at that point. And Zbyszko could have buried me and I wouldn't have known the difference. But he didn't. He made me look great the whole match. And I said it on the other interview, I'll say it now. The detail thing that he said, just like coming through the crowd, was a big detail that a lot of people would have missed on that NWO initial appearance. Usually on Broadway, the guys counting down the time, 10, 9, and then, the referee would go, 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, the bell ring. And every babyface I've ever seen before goes, like, what happened? Zbyszko was laying there and he goes, jump up like you won. And I never forgot that. And I jumped up like, yeah. Because everybody else goes, like, what happened? You know, did I win? And he said, jump up like I did. Boom. And it was, you know, it's one of those things that stuck in my mind. And it was cool to go back and be no longer a young boy, and you know, have some influence. Plus, he's live. And then I used to shoot angles with Zbyszko during commercials. You know, I'd toothpick him during a commercial because we're standing out there for 2 minutes. You got to do something. Zbyszko was over. They were chanting Larry for an announcer. And I was trying to show Bischoff that we needed guys to work with, you know.
If it wasn't Zbyszko, it was always Murdoch. Those are two guys.
Like, Murdoch. We turned Dusty NWO. Yeah. Everybody who ever helped me, I always tried to, you know, show respect back. Yeah, that's how it worked when I broke in.
How would you guys have booked WCW Invasion angle different than Vince did?
When we came back?
Not when you came back, when he bought WCW and a lot of the guys entered the company.
Wait till fucking have WCW, have the guys besides, you know, having just Booker T and Dallas.
Shane McMahon called me then. I had called him to thank him for, is that when the kid went to rehab or something? I don't know. I called Shane or something. I said, hey, thanks for taking care of my buddy and all that. And he said, well, actually, Paul did that. I was out of his own pocket. And I said, well, anyway, thank you. He's like a little brother to me. I just want to thank you very much. He said, well, hey, you're going to Japan. I said, yeah, I just want to find out if I even want to work anymore. He goes, well, you know, you always got a place here. You know, of course, we might have to, you know, put you on that good boy clause, you know. So I went, well, you know, I'll talk to you when I get back. I came back, I had a great tour in Japan. They offered me a contract the second day. And I went, you can't afford me, can you? My must say, no, probably not. But anyway, I get back, Shane calls. All right, and he goes, how'd it go in Japan? I said, you mean you didn't hear? He goes, yeah, I heard. He goes, I said, you know what? I still love wrestling, and you know what? I'm real fucking good at it. And he went, no. And I said, you know that good boy clause? F that. But I told him, I said, I don't want to be lost in this shuffle with a million other guys coming in.
Right.
And see, that, like Kev just said, anybody that the fans would have associated with WCW, all the top guys, our contracts weren't transferable. You know, you couldn't buy
most of us had 11 to 16 months left on deals. This is what killed me was when I was offered. It was like I think my last year, my contract there was like 2.4 something like that because I'd worked other little incentives into it. So they basically tell me we'll give you 50 cents on the dollar. All right, so I'm giving you back $1.3 million, and then you're going to guarantee me 750 of that back downside. And if I go on the road and bust my fucking ass, I might be able to make back to where I was if I sit home and watch TV and smoke pot. Gee, let me think.
What'd you do, Kev?
I sat home, watched.
You know what? You were about to tell him what he did, didn't
Sting?
A lot of guys in Sting.
Sting and Goldberg, they all sat home.
Good.
Scott Steiner.
Goldberg went to Vince, man.
He didn't go to he came out.
He got all this? I thought he sold it.
Fuck no. He got all his.
Were you surprised about Goldberg when he went to Vince? How he didn't get over and how he was pretty much hated there?
Yeah, but it was, you know, I've always said that the whole there wasn't anybody that got over. You weren't allowed to get over because it was like, why would you let it was like the Civil War was over. It'd been what, 5-8 months, a year since the Civil War was over. And what, you're gonna go let a Confederate guy fucking have your belt? That wasn't gonna happen. I mean, they bastardized and beat everybody that came over there. We came over as NWO, we got over. And they killed it. They killed it, and you know, just like, and I looked at it. I said, you know what? I said,
after telling us they weren't.
Yeah, this isn't about business. This is petty bullshit. And you know,
it wasn't
what?
about money.
It
was power.
You know. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Got your back.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah, you got us back. Way to go.
How huge do you think a true DX versus original NWO feud would be? How big for business?
Now, sold out, hanging from the rafters. We'd have the straps. No, I mean, back when we talked about it at that thing in Manhattan, that comedy club thing.
Yeah,
that was when everybody was talking about it. because DX was hot then,
Right.
and they needed opponents, and we were free. But I don't know. It's all it's time's gone by. I think those people wrestling each other. I mean, Kevin and I wrestling, Hunter and Sean, and what I thought was sweet about the angle is you have Kid, who was in both factions, so he'd be the wild card. It could have been some interesting stuff. It's probably still could, but I guess we'll never know.
I don't think I want to work that hard anymore, to tell you the fucking truth, brother, anymore.
I was going to ask you my next question. If the NWO was ever brought back, would you guys ever want any kind of road schedule again at this point in your lives?
Occasionally it's
I was
all
only
right.
working, Vince gave me. I was only working 10 days a month for Vince when I did go. Where were you working 12?
I was on 12.
They weren't working that much more anyway. After we left, everything changed.
Yeah.
When we left, like you said earlier, they never had two top guys go, no, thank you. No, we're going down there because they get days off.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the money.
Not only, yeah,
You get days off.
yeah, not only that, though, you know exactly what you're making, so you can actually financially plan for a year.
I remember telling Vince, man, I work too hard to be fighting with my old lady about furniture. Like I call him and go, what'd I get for Royal Rumble? Well, you got the X amount. I told you not to buy that couch. We can't afford it.
Right. It was a rough life back then, man.
Do you guys think your promos would have been as good if they were scripted like they were today in WWE?
Absolutely not. That's what's wrong with the show. I think we're all about that fucking show is the name of it.
Remember when we got there, they would make you rehearse.
Should be Monday Night Contrived.
Welcome to Monday Night Contrived!
They would take, when we got there at the end of the other thing, they would make us rehearse in front of Vince.
And stuff. Yeah, in front of Vince.
And he'd go, now, and that was when they'd say stuff, and he'd go, you got to remember now, they're going to go, what? Every time you say something, that when Austin's what thing was over, what?
If you guys were to change the business in any way, what would you do differently today compared to back in the 80s and 90s? I mean, do you guys think that wrestling needs to go back to characters like Diesel and Razor?
No. I think production. I'm so fucking. We're in it. I mean, and I just look at little tiny things about when you're in an environment where there's 350 channels and you're going through, and you're going, and you stop at this show and it's this single camera shot. Everything that's backstage is done with this single camera. There's no turnarounds. There's no point of views. It's a standard high def 2-shot of a handheld. I look at that and I say, from just a production, when you watch Real World fucking Sydney, and there's throwing these. I mean, it's just like, at what point does the production not pick up?
Did you notice one thing that Vince does in particular in his backstage things now that he never did when we were there? There are people in the hall.
In the background.
Bobby Heenan used to always go, because
Clear the background!
If they were shooting you walking down the hallway, there would never be any crew guys, there would never be any other wrestlers, and Bobby Heenan used to always mention that. And now, I don't know. All of a sudden, though, I noticed that, and it always makes me think about Bobby,
Who did you guys like working with the most when you guys were together as a team?
I thought we did the best we could with everybody. We started off with Harlem Heat, right?
Yeah.
We did some pretty sweet stuff with them.
Yeah,
I always remember.
I like working with Booker and Steve.
I remember the
Steiners.
I remember the spit spot in Las Vegas at Halloween Havoc. I did some early. I started with Booker, did some bing stuff with Book. Stevie came in. I let Stevie toss me around. Went like this. Spit on him. Stevie Ray's a big, proud black man, and you don't spit on him even when you're working. And I knew I was going to do it, but I didn't want to tell him because he might say no, and then I'd have to do it, and I'd get beat up when I get back to the locker room. So I did it, and he went, and people went, whoa, and he looked at me, and then I just went. Just like this, don't even look back, just tag Kev, and it worked so sweet. And to Stevie's credit, after Kev put him over, Kev he binged Kev down, bing, he turned around to me and went, spit on me when I was on the outside. I came in, I tripped on the rope, did the flare bump. And I enjoyed working with them. Steiners were great.
Giant and Luger were
Giant and Luger. We got good matches with Giant and Luger. We just did our shtick, Bear Paw.
I mean, it was a pretty. everybody kind of did their part. I mean, it was that main event style. It wasn't like we were, Chinese fire drilling it out there. It's pretty just.
I remember what was funny when we'd go to some towns and people go, well, you guys, good guys or bad guys? Depends on who we're wrestling, Depends on how over the other guys are.
My always thing was, making the comeback to the baby face and giving it to the heel. It's just simple as that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'll put you in some kind of a hold right now. I'm getting feeling.
Not that neck fight.
Yeah, I might put you in that fight. I might do it.
I
might put you in a Yoko nerve hold for the next hour.
I might give you that electric chair again.
Fuck that.
Bischoff has questioned whether he gave Kevin too much power. What are your thoughts on that?
Too fucking late.
Kev's.
I take it. It's not you don't give me.
Kev sees his power.
Yeah,
I never finished my statement earlier. When he goes into his grouch mode, we used to call him Grouch. Pretty soon, everybody's calling him Grouch. Where's the Grouch? And it was like, big guys crack sooner. If Kev's 7 feet tall, even in first class on an airplane, it's uncomfortable. He can ride in a Cadillac. The luxury cars were in our contract. It's still too small. He goes to the whole king size bed, too small. It just wear and tear being a 7-footer walking around. And plus, what I always thought was cool observing it from standing right next to him, go, well, he is right, because Bishop would always go to me like, well, you're the little crazy one, but you're kind of unstable, but fuck, he's mean, And Kevin, he's big, he's tall, he's big, he's articulate, and educated. And I used to just watch, when we'd be trying to turn the finish like the way we wanted it to go in the room, they're talking to finish. And I go, well, it's not up to me, blah, 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 blah. And I would say it, and then Kevin would go, well, I think that's a good idea. Now you got him talking down to everybody. All you need is one more person to jump in there. And if Hulk, well, I think we should do that too.
Done.
We got you. Because Hulk's right. Hulk has struggled.
Creative. If you could sway Hulk.
And once we gained his trust, then
we made it. But then it's like anything else. It's like, fuck, if you're in prison or
once we gained his trust, we stuck it to him.
No, anywhere you're at in life, man. It's just the strong are always going to survive. I mean, that's just what do you get?
There's self-destruct.
Right. But I mean,
boom, boom.
But I don't think. He didn't give me power.
No, you seized it. You were. And I thought you handled it real smoothly the way when you had your meeting. You said, well, I've been messing with Eric for a long time now, saying I can do better, I can do better. Well, now I'm gonna have to back up what I said. So I think the first week, just to show that you're a businessman, didn't Ray beat you on the first night, John? Just so you could set the standard. Like, when I come to you and tell you to do a job, I don't want to hear anything about it. I used to do jobs when I wasn't supposed to on Nitro. I come back and they go, Bischoff would see me in the locker room and go, didn't I tell you to beat Jericho?
Plus, we're in a situation where, if you're giving reins to one of the boys that you've had problems with for years, I mean, what kind of situation is the company in? I mean, fuck, the company was in a bad situation. And the thing was, nobody wanted to help. Everybody was complaining, but nobody was ponying up with any ideas. And I said, fuck it, I think I can help.
Remember somebody used to go, oh, I hate that. Remember we'd pitch ideas?
I hate
Same
that.
guy says Tupelo. What do you got, man? Nothing. Oh, you hate what we got. What do you got?
All right.
Oh, you got nothing? Okay, let's do nothing. That's how you guys
That's
how you got these arenas half full.
Exactly. That's when we came into the house.
It's only Tupelo. It's only Tupelo.
Would that be Stinger or somebody else?
No comment.
What's the biggest misconceptions about you guys, together or separately? Is there anything that you never had a chance to say to people that judge you and you want to clear the air, I guess?
My whole thing, who the fuck are they to judge us anyway? I mean, there's very few people that know us that well.
Yeah,
I mean,
true that.
there's maybe 4 or 5 guys that have spent any, number one, the business is a work. We're pretty good. He's one of the best shit stirrers in the world. I'm a prick. We're both pricks. We know how to work all these angles. So 99% of the time when we're in an arena, it's an act. and it's been done so many times. It may be perceived that this is their personality, but it's just like how we are in that car and we slam that trunk and grab our gear bag and walk in. That's two different guys.
Yeah, and I like that.
So yeah,
It's like, you find a place to drop your bag, you look around, you go to Kay, like, yeah, let's go stir some shit.
it's just like fucking, and you go in there. The thing is, this is the thing.
Go to the young guy who's having his first match, go, you're not wearing that.
Oh, fuck, dude. Hey, dude, I watched your match last night. Fuck, dude, were you stoned? But you walk into the thing, and the whole thing about wrestlers is there's not a more miserable bunch of pricks on the planet. We'd walk in some place and go, woo, fucking party. I remember one time we were at a pediatric AIDS thing in New York City, and everybody's there, all the top models. I mean, everybody in New York City is at this thing, and he's dressed up like Razor, and I'm dressed up like Diesel. And we walk in this thing, and it's quiet. It's cocktail hour. We go out there, we get double fisted. We're walking across this big ballroom, and I think it was the Sheraton down in New York City. Scott stops and goes, "What the fuck's that? Somebody told me this was a party, man. What's this, a funeral?" And the whole fucking place just went like, oh, the wrestlers are here. It was one of those situations like, yeah, that's what we do. Like, and I guarantee there wasn't anybody the rest of the night that didn't know that we were in the room. Especially if you're trying to get by us at the bar.
How would you rate each other as workers? I want you to rate Kev, and Kev, you could rate Scott.
I mean, I've always said that, he's the most talented. He can do everything. Because, I mean, Sean's a great worker, but Sean can't work that big man style, though he has tried. But Scott can work. Scott can work because of his physical side. Scott can work like Brody, or Scott can work because he has. And I watched him. He can work the Shawn Michaels style. So to me, though, he's by far the most diversified of any guy that in my era that I've had the privilege of watching. He's by far, the best. He's the best big guy. He's the best big worker probably that the business ever seen.
Thanks, God. I tell you, actually, when Vince started to shoot steroid testing, and I went from like 285 to about 260, and then just kind of stayed at that size when I was in WCW because who cares, guaranteed money.
Yeah, we didn't.
I thought it was kind of cool because having worked with Shawn Michaels and learning how to work better at those years in New York and stuff, I felt like I could work with Rey Mysterio and have a believable performance, or I could work against Giant, against Paul White, Big Show, whatever you call him, and I felt like that. I always felt like I was like a good utility guy. I want to be like a utility man, and I thought we were a super tag team. Kev's easily the best big man in the business. He's a giant killer,
Thanks, baby.
Remember that time I started crying when you didn't show up at Starcade and you had the brownie heart attack?
Pop brownie heart attack.
I go in there and Bischoff calls me. I didn't want Bischoff going to my room. He goes, "Scott, what room you need to talk to you?" I just want to just get out of the shower. What room are you in? So I go up to his room. He goes, "Okay, don't get upset. Kev's in the hospital. He may have had a heart attack." I start crying. He goes, "Don't worry, but we need to know." Because I'm supposed to be off at Stargate. Right. I'm walking to the ring with Bischoff. He's wrestling Zabisco because of my buddy system. And so I'm thinking I'm off. Now I got to go out, which is cool. I go out and get to do an interview early in the show in Washington, D.C. I have family up that way. But I got to go out there and say that Kev's not going to be there, which it was Giant versus Giant. This is a sweet angle they had going. Remember when he broke the cage and we did the whoa?
That was pretty cool.
But, one of the main events ain't going to be there, and I have to go out and say ain't going to be there. And I started choking up saying it, and my big buddy, he's not going to be there. Hey, hear me out. He's not going to be here tonight. But
I think that, as a tag team,
I feel like this sounds so egotistical. But I sat on the bus one time in Norton in Japan. Because every night, every day I hear, "Hall, that ain't Japanese stuff. Hey, Hall, that ain't Japanese stuff." Finally, after about 4 days, I turned around and went, "Hey, Norton, I ain't Japanese. I said, I think they've seen how I work and they would invite me over here.
Yeah,
And then I was talking, remember, I was trying to so hard. I got so pissed when they wouldn't book us in that egg dome for the tag tournament. So I kept saying, man, Nash contract be up January 1st. So by the time he flies over here, he can work. And, because I was on the bus and I said to Norton, I said, me and Nash are the best tag team in the world. And Scott Norton's a pretty straight shooter, And I like him, big Rhino.
I like Rhino.
And he thought about it and went, yeah, you're right. And from him, that was a huge compliment to me because Vita didn't think so. He would have said, fuck you. You guys suck.
I think the Steiners were great in our era. Who else was good?
The Mulkeys.
Who were those dudes, Dudleys? I made a good impression on them, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Came in a little buzzed into LA, first day working for Vince, second time around. Hey,
Hey, man.
love your finish.
Can't
man.
wait to kick
Can't
out of
wait
it.
to kick out of it.
Fucking, I'm like, oh, God.
Dope. Sorry. You didn't hear about us? Man, we almost done, bro. I'm getting so much heat.
It was like 5 more minutes probably. I'm just going to end it up. What did you guys think about Jim Cornette's rant against you guys and Sean Waltman when you guys were in WCW? Do you guys think he was too personal on you?
Jim Cornette.
He went on TV, on WWE TV, and went off on you guys.
Yeah, I actually took no offense to it because I knew at that time nobody was watching the show.
I didn't even hear about it.
No, he said, remember
I barely paid
one
attention
time he
to
said,
what we did.
that was the one he said I had like 3 moves. I'm thinking, fuck, man, did I add one? I didn't make a minute.
I guess in closing, is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you never had a chance to say before?
Thanks for
You're going to be in a little rough. Of course, by the time you see this, we'll already been there and kicked somebody's ass. Going to San Francisco.
Outsiders back on the road, baby.
Outsiders on tour, baby. Old school outlaws on the road. We're going to start whoring ourselves out and make every little indie show out there. So if you see the Outsiders coming to your town, buy rings that day.
And it's fucking going to be us, too. We're showing up.
We're going to be there.
He'll be sober. I can't promise you that. I'm not on a good boy contract.
I take interviews before I go to towns now. Every time I get on the plane to go to Puerto Rico, I take interviews.
It's good for you, man.
Yeah, it is, because they're waiting for me to explode. Now they dig me. I did 2 jobs last week because of a non-title match to tag match.
Gee, one of the greatest guys.
I said,
I said you're TV. Why wouldn't they do
I said, you gotta beat me. Like they wanted me to do DQ or something. I said, no, man, it's non-title. I said, he's got to beat me. I'm their champion. So he's got to beat me. Then we're in a tag the next night. So now they know. Wow, he volunteered to do a job. Then he went, oh, would you mind putting my cousin over? I went, the guy I put over last night. No, I have no problem. This time tonight we're doing his finish. Like last time I went for my finish.
See, but that, like you said earlier, though, that completely takes all the ammunition on them because it's just like, if they want to fuck with you, they go, we'll make him job. It's like, that doesn't have any effect on you.
No.
So when you take, and I always thought that was the whole thing. I think that the guys hated us because we were never marks.
Did your friendship ever get strained from when you had problems? Did his business ever get affected by it? Did you ever hold Scott or?
No, Kevin's been such a true friend to me, and even up to recently, until we did that autograph thing in New York, like Kevin would call, and he'll still call. He'll call 50 times, go, yeah, well, calling again, you prick, pick up the phone. and I, for so many years, I was struggling with my addiction. I continue to, and I always go, well, I'm going to get it together, man. I'm going to get it together. And I went, what? Screw all this talk. I ain't going to talk to Kev. I just want to show up in New York and let him see me because I look better than I did for a while. And I said, I'm just going to show up but then I guess, what happened is I did that show in Puerto Rico and everybody started blowing me, man.
Well, what happened was I was sitting at home and my phone, once again, my phone blew up. And I'm at dinner time and the phone's going off. And I'm thinking, last time my phone went off like this, it was the Benoit situation. I'm thinking maybe I should pick up my phone. So I pick up my phone and I pressed, check my messages and like 2 or 3 different guys were saying, go on YouTube. Scott's on YouTube. So I, get on YouTube, I look it up, and I see Scott, and I see that he's in Puerto Rico, and I can see him jump on the ring on the ropes, and I can see that he's got abs, and I got tears in my eyes. So we hadn't talked about like 2 months, and I was just like, he's okay, because that's all I worry about. That he's okay. I don't, he doesn't need to say, hey,
It's better to look good than to feel good.
Absolutely. But I was just really happy that we had a chance to see each other in New York, and just like we had breakfast the next morning. I said, we kind of looked at each other like, hey, you want a horse? You want to whore out for a while? You want to make a little bit more money? And we just both kind of went, let's do it. So
That dude in Frisco is so excited, man.
how can he not be?
He said, I think everybody's buying tickets, to see Outsiders because you guys don't make towns.
No shit.
Yeah, we weren't making them when we were under contract, bro. Free agents
No
now.
fucking shit.
Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, tell the fans, hey, thanks for all your support all these years.
Yeah. And there's still I believe the Outsider dolls are coming out.
They're out now.
They're out now, so get the new
we
reds.
signed some. So I'd like to get the royalty check there, Jack specific.
Get the new red Outsider dolls.
They said, I got 50 at my house yesterday. Raise your dollars.
50,000 or dollars?
$50.
Which they sent.
I asked for
wish they'd
500.
send it. Yeah, wish they'd
The
send it.
next time you come back, we'd like to be with Sean Waltman too. We'll have all three.
That'd be sweet, man.
Just do road stories.
We haven't done one nude yet. Outsiders nude.
If I didn't have to leave.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
TitleMatchNetwork.com